A photograph, grainy and blurred, captures a German squad leader laughing as he cradles what looks like a toy, the infamous American Thompson submachine gun. The caption, hastily scrawled, reads, "Laughing at the Tommy, too slow, too bulky." Yet behind the jest, the air is thick with the acrid stench of gunpowder and burning rubble. The radio intercept that accompanies the image is fractured, a garbled transmission capturing German voices mocking the weapon's reputation. How could a weapon, scorned as a relic, become a nightmare in the narrow alleys of European cities? What was it about the Thompson that shattered German assault groups with such brutal efficiency, defying every expectation? The Thompson's origins trace back to the Roaring Twenties, designed as a trench broom for close combat, a relic resurrected during the desperate days of global conflict. American ordnance officers, pressured by mass mobilization and an urgent need for rapid-fire weapons, pushed the Tommy back into production in 1940. A single worn blueprint found in a soldier's pocket shows the original design alongside hastily added notes on modifications requested by frontline units. But behind these updates lay a conflict of interest. Traditional infantry commanders demanded reliability and ease of maintenance, while special assault units craved raw firepower and stopping power in urban chaos. Why did the American military choose to revive this controversial weapon, even as some engineers warned of its weight and complexity? What hidden debates shaped its return to the battlefield? The Thompson fired the 45 ACP round, a heavy-hitting cartridge with significant stopping power, but at a cost. The weapon itself tipped the scales at nearly 4.5 kilograms, with a rate of fire around 600 rounds per minute. Its 20 or 30 round magazines were bulky, but lethal. Design documents reveal a complex assembly, prone to jamming if maintenance faltered. Yet its recoil and sound, the sharp crack of the 45 round, instilled fear in enclosed spaces. Blueprints found in a bombed-out command post show attempts to lighten the gun, but these were abandoned due to production constraints. How did this cumbersome weapon outperform lighter, faster German submachine guns like the MP-40 in the brutal street fighting of the Ruhr and Aachen? Could the weapon's very flaws have made it uniquely suited for urban warfare? The first major test came in late 1944 during the Battle of Aachen. An American infantry battalion armed with Thompsons advanced into the shattered cityscape, expecting slow, grinding house-to-house combat. Radio messages intercepted by German units reveal surprise and frustration. "Those Americans, Tommy guns tearing through our squads like knives." After initial skepticism, German commanders documented a pattern. The Thompson's heavy rounds stopped assault waves cold, even through walls and barricades. A field report from a squadron commander describes the thunderous roar that broke our ranks, forcing retreats in narrow streets. Why did German tactical doctrine fail to anticipate this? Was it hubris or a deeper misunderstanding of urban combat's demands? In response, German forces adapted quickly. New training manuals emphasized smaller, more dispersed assault groups to mitigate the Thompson's devastating close-range fire. Engineers worked furiously on improved armor for assault troops, and MP-40 magazines were loaded differently to increase rate of fire. Yet, intercepted orders show growing dread. Avoid close-quarter engagements where possible. Tommy guns have the edge. Camouflage and hit-and-run tactics became standard, but the psychological impact lingered. Secret memos hint at internal debates. Should German production pivot to heavier calibers or improve mobility? Why did German countermeasures struggle to neutralize the Thompson despite their renowned tactical innovation? The turning point came in early 1945 as American forces pushed deeper into the industrial heartland. Urban warfare intensified, and the Thompson's dominance peaked amid dwindling German resources. A detailed map recovered from a German operations bunker shows a shrinking pocket of resistance, annotated with notes on Tommy threat zones. Communication protocols were revised to limit exposure in narrow streets, but often too late. The weapon's effectiveness exposed cracks in German command's ability to adapt quickly under pressure. Was the failure to counter the Eichhorn Thompson a symptom of broader systemic collapse? Did this small firearm symbolize the unraveling of German urban defense? Each episode is a document I pull from the dust of the archives. Share your own stories. Many of you have relatives who lived through that time, and your words help connect personal memory with archival evidence. Stay curious, subscribe so you don't miss the next episode tomorrow. In the aftermath of Aachen, battlefield photographs reveal shattered German assault groups, slumped against crumbling walls, their MP-40s discarded or jammed. The stark contrast is a close-up of a Thompson, its wooden stock scarred but still smoking, resting beside a pile of spent casings. Within the smog of war and ruin, soldiers whispered of the Tommy's curse, a weapon that tore through their formations with brutal precision. One intercepted diary entry from a German assault leader reflects on this terror. The Americans wield death in their hands, heavy and relentless. But what? Was it in the urban environment that magnified the Thompson's lethality? Was it simply firepower, or had the city itself become a weapon in the hands of the American infantry? The labyrinthine streets, narrow alleys, and shattered buildings of European cities created choke points and kill zones perfectly suited for the Thompson's capabilities. Unlike the lighter MP-40, the Thompson's .45 caliber rounds could penetrate makeshift barricades and thin walls, turning every doorway into a potential death trap. A recently uncovered blueprint of a typical German urban defense layout shows the intended use of tight corridors for defense, but these became death traps under Thompson fire. Soldiers on both sides described the stifling, echoing gunfire that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. How did the interplay between architecture and ammunition redefine combat tactics in these crumbling urban theaters? Why did the Germans fail to redesign their defensive strategies to account for this deadly synergy? American infantry units quickly learned to exploit these conditions. Tactical reports from late 1944 show assault squads trained to use the Thompson for rapid, suppressive fire during room clearing and stairwell advances. The Thompson's semi-automatic and fully automatic modes allowed soldiers to switch between precision and overwhelming firepower, a flexibility rarely seen in German submachine guns. The weapon's psychological impact was palpable, documented in interrogation transcripts where captured German soldiers confessed to fearing the unrelenting roar of the Tommy. Yet the Americans knew the weapon's drawbacks well. Weight and limited magazine capacity required careful planning and supply lines. Could the Germans have anticipated this tactical evolution? Why did their intelligence fail to grasp the full scope of the Thompson's battlefield transformation? As winter of 1944 turned to spring 1945, supply shortages plagued German troops, forcing them to scavenge and improvise. Captured Thompsons and ammunition became coveted assets, yet German units struggled with unfamiliar mechanisms and maintenance challenges. Memoirs from German engineers describe frantic attempts to reverse engineer the Thompson's design, but complexity and lack of resources hampered efforts. Meanwhile, American units received steady shipments of the weapon, reinforcing their dominance in urban firefights. Radio logs from a German intelligence officer reveal a bleak resignation. The toy is a weapon of nightmares, and we are unprepared. What hidden logistical failures compounded the German inability to counter the Thompson? Was this a failure of production, training, or something more systemic? Behind the scenes, American commanders debated the Thompson's future as newer weapons emerged. Yet, in the crucible of urban warfare, the Thompson remained a trusted tool, its reputation forged in the smoke and rubble of cities like Aachen, Cologne, and the Ruhr. A classified memo from a U.S. Army ordnance officer highlights ongoing modifications to improve reliability and reduce weight, but the original design's core remained untouched. The paradox lingered. A weapon once mocked as outdated became the instrument of urban domination. How did the Thompson's legacy influence post-war infantry weapon development? Did its success in city combat challenge prevailing doctrines about firepower and mobility? By mid-1945, the grim maps of German cities bore the scars of relentless American assaults. In one document, a tactical overlay marked Tommy zones traced the paths where Thompson armed squads had repeatedly broken defensive lines. The weapon's presence reshaped entire battle plans. German units shifted from coordinated mass assaults to fragmented, isolated skirmishes to avoid the devastating close-range fire. A faded photograph shows a German soldier clutching a damaged MP-40, his face etched with exhaustion and disbelief, standing opposite the still pristine Thompson of an advancing American. Yet, amidst these shifts, the German high command hesitated to abandon their favored submachine guns or heavier rifles. Why did they cling to these weapons despite clear evidence of their inferiority in urban environments? Was it pride, tradition, or a fatal underestimation of the evolving battlefield? In clandestine reports, German officers lamented the Thompson's psychological edge as much as its physical one. The sound of its rapid-fire, 45 ACP rounds became a harbinger of death, sowing panic within assault groups before bullets struck. An intercepted field radio transmission captures a voice breaking under strain. "The Tommy fires like thunder. Our men falter." These admissions reveal a battlefield where morale was as much a casualty as flesh and steel. Yet, official propaganda continued to downplay these losses, portraying the MP-40 as the symbol of German resilience. What internal contradictions within the German military hierarchy allowed such dissonance between reality and public narrative? How did this denial affect their ability to adapt and survive in urban combat? Meanwhile, American infantrymen developed near-mythical respect for the Thompson's brutal reliability in city fighting. Oral histories from veterans recount moments when the weapon's stopping power saved lives in close quarters, from basement firefights to rooftop ambushes. A weathered leather pouch containing spare magazines found decades later in a forgotten trench speaks silently of the relentless reloading demanded by these engagements. Yet, beyond the battlefield, the Thompson became a symbol, both feared and revered. How did this duality influence American infantry culture and identity? Did the weapon's reputation shape training doctrines or the psychological preparation of soldiers facing the chaos of urban warfare? In the final chaotic months, German forces attempted desperate countermeasures, improvised armor, new assault formations, even the deployment of heavier automatic rifles. Yet, intercepted tactical plans reveal a grim acknowledgement. No weapon matches the Tommy in confined spaces. The weapon's dominance forced a strategic withdrawal from many urban centers, conceding ground to American forces who wielded their heavy submachine guns like sledgehammers against stone and steel. A reconstructed timeline from declassified documents shows how the Thompson's presence accelerated the collapse of German urban resistance. What does this say about the broader dynamics of technological innovation and adaptation in war? Were the Germans defeated by superior tactics, technology, or the unforgiving conditions of the cities themselves? Deep in the archives, a final report stands out, an analysis by a German ordnance specialist dated April 1945. It acknowledges the Thompson as an imperfect but devastating weapon whose weight and recoil were outweighed by the psychological and tactical shock it delivered. The document hints at lost opportunities. If only earlier German engineers had recognized the threat and adapted accordingly, the outcome might have shifted. But history records no such pivot. Instead, the Thompson's thunderous roar echoed through the ruins, a grim testament to a weapon once scorned but ultimately unstoppable in the crucible of urban warfare. What lessons remain buried beneath the rubble of these forgotten battles? How might understanding this paradox reshape our view of innovation, resilience, and failure in war? In the smoldering aftermath of the Ruhr Pocket's collapse, a series of clandestine photographs surfaced from a captured German field hospital. One image, in particular, chills the viewer. A wounded German soldier clutching a bloodied hand, his eyes fixed on a Thompson resting nearby, its barrel still warm. The caption, added in hurried German script, reads, "The curse of the city, the Tommy, strikes without warning." Medical reports from the same period describe injuries characteristic of the .45 ACP's devastating impact, severe tissue damage, shattered bones, and wounds that overwhelmed field medics unprepared for such trauma. How did the medical realities of combat casualties reflect the hidden terror wielded by the Thompson? Did these injuries contribute to the growing mythos surrounding the weapon's fearsome reputation? Simultaneously, secret intelligence briefings reveal that German urban assault units began experimenting with alternative tactics, deploying flamethrowers and close-quarter explosives in an attempt to flush out Thompson-equipped Americans from fortified positions. A faded blueprint of a narrow stairwell, annotated with explosive charge placements, underscores the desperation of these measures. Yet, these tactics often played into American hands, funneling attackers into kill zones covered by Thompson fire. In one intercepted radio message, a German officer bitterly remarks, "We become prey in our own traps." What does this reveal about the interplay between innovation and desperation in the final stages of urban conflict? Could these radical tactics have altered the course of street fighting if implemented earlier? Amidst the chaos, a lesser-known episode unfolded during the Battle of Cologne. An American engineer's field journal describes how a specialized assault team armed with Thompsons conducted a midnight raid through the city's sewer tunnels, emerging behind German lines to disrupt communications and supply routes. Photographs taken by the engineer show Thompson magazines stacked neatly beside makeshift barricades deep underground, lit only by flickering lantern light. This operation highlighted the Thompson's versatility, not just a weapon of open streets, but of confined, labyrinthine spaces. How did this subterranean warfare challenge traditional notions of infantry combat? Why did German defenses underestimate such unconventional uses of the weapon? At the same time, captured German manuals surfaced, revealing a grudging respect for the Thompsons' role in shaping urban combat doctrine. One section, heavily redacted but partially legible, instructed assault squads to avoid direct confrontation in enclosed spaces where the enemy wields the Tommy. Yet the same documents admitted the lack of viable alternatives within their own arsenal. These manuals, buried deep within intelligence archives, suggest an internal struggle to reconcile doctrine with harsh battlefield realities. What internal conflicts within the German military hierarchy prevented a decisive shift in strategy? Did institutional inertia doom their urban defense efforts before the first shot was even fired? By the time the war reached its final days, the Thompson had transcended its role as a mere weapon. It became a symbol of American adaptability and lethal efficiency, a tangible reminder of the brutal calculus of urban warfare. In one final intercepted communication, a weary German commander states, "The Tommy is no longer just a gun. It is a voice of inevitability." Yet behind this acknowledgement lay unanswered questions about the limits of technology, psychology, and human endurance in the crucible of war. How much did the Thompsons' rise expose deeper fractures within German military strategy? And, conversely, how did it shape the post-war understanding of close-quarters combat for generations to come? In the war's final hours, as shattered German units retreated through the ruins of Berlin and Hamburg, the Thompsons' shadow loomed large. A series of hastily drawn maps recovered from a deserted command post marked pockets labeled Tommy Resistance, areas where German forces had been stalled or forced into surrender by relentless submachine gun fire. Eyewitness accounts describe frantic last stands where the weapon's heavy .45 rounds tore through barricades and shattered hopes of counterattack. Yet, among American troops, the Thompson was not just a tool of destruction. It was a symbol of grit amidst chaos, a trusted companion in the unforgiving maze of city streets. But what does the legacy of this weapon reveal about the brutal intimacy of urban warfare? Was the Thompson's effectiveness a product of design, circumstance, or the psychological warfare it waged on both sides?